Good afternoon. My name is Isabella Rodriguez, and I'm the treasurer of Women of Color United. It is my pleasure to be here today at the 2025 Women's History Month lecture. This event is meant to be a continued conversation at Hope College. Tonight, we will hear a keynote lecture from artist Althea Jones, a multidisciplinary artist based in Northeast Ohio, will present the address, Superhero Mode, Taking Charge of Your Story and Success. Immediately after the lecture, we'll have a Q&A discussion where you'll be able to ask questions via a Google form. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the land that we stand on and labor that has shaped it. Together, we acknowledge that we gather as Hope College on the traditional land of the Peoria, Potawatomi, Odawa, and Ojibwa, peoples past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. As a community, we recognize the ever-present systemic inequalities that stem directly from past wrongdoings. We acknowledge this long history of injustice and commit to educating ourselves and our community as we seek to honor the legacy and culture of the Indigenous people. We recognize, acknowledge, and affirm the historic and contemporary solidarities and intersections between Black and Indigenous people. We acknowledge the extraction of brilliance, energy, and life for labor forced upon people of African descent for more than 400 years. As an organization, we are dedicated to advancing solutions that promote equality, dismantle oppressive systems, and uplift the voices and experience of marginalized communities. We understand that acknowledging the labor of enslaved people is an essential step in addressing the historic and present-day injustice that continue to shape our society. We carry our ancestors within us, and we are continually called to be better. We commit to dismantling racism in spaces of our work. We invite you to work beside us to create change. As a student and a part of Women of Color United, we are so grateful to the Culture and Inclusive Excellence Division, the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, for their support in sponsoring this program. Again, thank you for coming to this lecture, and I hope you enjoy it. But more importantly, I hope you learn something new that will inspire you. Next, we will watch a video presentation by one of our e-board members, Shannon Rodriguez. Selah is a site-specific dance film that explores the intersections of faith, movement, and the human experience. Against the backdrop of a worship space, Selah embodies the painful beauty of resilience in the search for meaning in the midst of hardship. Selah is a dance in collaboration with the Reyes Organ and Choral Hall at the University of Notre Dame. It was choreographed by Professor Lindsay Hansen and student Kylie Epsy, directed by Lindsay Hansen and filmed by Johnny Yepes. The cast is comprised of Hope College dancers, Kylie Epsy, Mackenzie Kellogg, Abby Maines, Isabel Park, Sarah LaCour, and Shannon Rodriguez.
Good afternoon. My name is Betsaida Hidalgo, and I serve as the Junior Ambassador of the Women of Color United. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our speaker today for the 2025 Women's History Month lecture, artist Althea Jones. Althea Jones is a multidisciplinary artist based in Northeast Ohio whose work centers on self-reflection and community building. Utilizing a diverse range of media, including painting, photography, and performance art, Althea creates narratives that encourage introspection and foster collective engagement. Althea holds a BA in Justice Studies from Kent State University and is currently working towards receiving a BFA at the University of Akron. Her academic background in justice studies deeply informs her artistic practice, imbuing her work with a strong commitment to social justice and community empowerment. Through her art, Althea aims to bridge personal exploration with broader societal dialogues, creating spaces for connection and meaningful discourse. Althea is known for her community-driven work, Skin Color, which challenges implicit bias and brings community members together to learn more about themselves and each other. Through lighthearted conversations and interactions, participants are encouraged to see more in their skin color by engaging in lively and enriching conversations about life, connection, and identity, while color matching a participant's specific skin color with acrylic paint. The goal of the project is to encourage self-love and actualization while simultaneously building community, and also seeks to explore the ability to celebrate skin tone differences while healing an instance of implicit bias in a unique and positive way. Now, please welcome Althea Jones.
Hello, good afternoon. So I was wonderfully blessed to be with the Women of Color group last night, and we had a very lively conversation, and I intend to do something very similar. So I'm going to ask you to feedback. I'm going to ask you questions, and I'm going to want you to respond. And I won't make it weird, just a little weird, but not too weird, okay? All right, so the first question I'm going to ask is, who is your favorite superhero? All right, so close your eyes or not, think about it, and we're gonna answer out loud in 3, 2, 1, storm. All right, that was decent. We're gonna go again. All right, we're gonna pick somebody else. We're gonna pick somebody else. All right, who's your second favorite superhero? Now, I was prepared for the first one. I'm not prepared for the second one, so let me think about it. Okay, I got one. All right, 3, 2, 1, Dr. Strange. All right, thank you. So my name is Althea, as was said, and I do a lot of work in the community. I like to consider my work community-driven. And during this season of my life, I am so very excited because I am my favorite superhero. And my favorite superhero, like, I know that sounds like very like, yay, I'm my favorite superhero, very like after schoolish. But it's true because I have saved and created my own existence. So I am 43 years old, and I am getting my BFA at Akron University. So I'm getting my Bachelor of Fine Arts, which was my life's dream. When I was a kid, I was super good at art, like selling art. At 16 years old, I auctioned off a piece to my high school that still is there. I was in love with my art teacher. She was my best friend. And then I went to go to college, and my mom said, what'd she say? All of those things. She said, you cannot make a living at art. She's an accountant. So, exactly. So she was like, and no. And so I went to school for pre-law. Because, like, when people tell you to go to school, you do, like, medical, criminal justice, business. There's, like, the stereotypical ones, especially when you're really doing something you don't want to do anyway. And so I went through all of life not being where I wanted to be. So I went through approximately 20-something years of life not being where I wanted to be. And now, here, in this moment, having spent a wonderful few days with Polly and with Sierra and with the ladies and gentlemen here, I am exactly where I want to be in life. And so for me, that is the equivalent of saving the world. So I have determined through my art practice and all of the research that I've done that there are specific things you need to be a superhero. Anybody got any that they want to suggest? Empathy, that's a good one. Powers, superpowers. Courage, very good. Agency, oh, that's a really good one. Confidence, very good. We'll go for one more. Or not, okay. All right, so my determination is that you need 4 things to be a superhero. You need an origin story. You know, maybe your mom and dad get killed in a back alley after the movies, you know, something like that. You need superpowers, like you said. You need tools, like Thor's hammer. And then you need a formula, okay? So these are the things that I have come up with as I've gone through life and figured how I really created my current existence. So, origin story. Superheroes have one origin story. It's usually really tragic and absolutely horrible, and then that's what they come from, you know, their moment to shine. I've determined as humans, that's just unrealistic. We have a much more colorful and long life, and so therefore, I think we have aha moments. And aha moments are moments when you feel compelled to movement, when you have an idea, but that idea doesn't just ruminate within you, it compels you to movement. And so that is your origin story. So I've had a few different aha moments in my life. One of the aha moments was when I quit my job at the VA hospital. So I got this degree I don't want. What's the next step? Go do a job I don't want to do. Fine. Hey, we're already in this motion. And then one day, for apparently no reason at all, I looked over at my coworker, and I was like, I do not want to be like her. And on that day, I wrote my resignation letter. I folded it up, put it in an envelope, put it in my desk drawer. In 2 weeks, I'm going to hand in this letter. Just in case, though, I'm going to give another copy to my friend, and I'm going to tell her in 2 weeks, if I don't hand in this letter, I need you to hand it in for me. During that 2 weeks, I tried to save as much money as I could. You know, I didn't eat out, all that kind of good stuff, didn't buy any coffee. And on that day, I did boldly go in, and I quit my job. And it was great. The only problem was I just made myself another job. I went and did consulting. It was like being a babysitter for adults. You know, it was not the move. So I did that for a few years, though, because you make money, right? You're a consultant. It's kind of cool because you get to make your own hours. You know, you don't have to clock in and out. You get paid a check right there. You make suggestions that no one ever follows, and then they blame you for what they didn't get to do, okay? So that's how that goes. So I was still unhappy, and I couldn't figure out why. So then comes my second aha moment. And it came in the form of sleeplessness. You know how, like, 3 o'clock in the morning and you just can't sleep, and, like, you're on YouTube and you're going down this horrible rabbit hole that ends up in subreddit. That's what we talked about yesterday. The worst ideas always end up in subreddit. And so I couldn't sleep. So I had this dream, or I don't even know if I was dreaming, but I had this conversation in my mind. And it started with a cinder block house. So a house made of cinder blocks. Then it went to living in a van. Then it went to living in an abandoned house. Ironically enough, I owned a couple of abandoned houses because market crash of 2008. So I decided to go live in an abandoned house. And it was the best thing ever. I went, I cleaned it out, I kept it a secret, I didn't tell anyone because I knew everyone was going to think I was crazy. And I created a safe space for graffiti artists. Graffiti artists and urbex photographers would come there, and they were free to create art without constraint and without worrying about going to jail or paying ticket fines. Me and the police had a wonderful relationship. They were like, you should do this everywhere, then we wouldn't have to worry about this. And it was really, really wonderful. Eventually, I lost the fight. They tore the house down, but hey, I had a good time in the meantime. So that was another aha moment. So it wasn't so much that I came up with something new or different. It was that I was still inside trying to get back to the thing that I loved. And so I was a little bit closer because I was dealing with art. So life continues to happen. I'm doing some art, kind of sometimes. I did a lot of like paint and sips, all types of different things. Then I went on a massive road trip. There's this urban legend that I live in Cleveland, or I grew up in Cleveland. So there's this legend that if you go down Euclid Avenue and drive it straight, it'll take you to New York City. This is not true. It'll take you to Boston. I never made it to Boston, though, because I met a girl at a coffee shop in Buffalo who sent me to Connecticut, who sent me to Vermont, who sent me to Knoxville, who sent me to Atlanta, and I was just living this absolutely wonderful floating life where I'm arting here and there, and then I had another aha moment. This one was a little more jarring. As a Northeasterner or a Midwesterner, one of the worst things that could happen to you is you hit a deer. Always, it's always like the thing we like. Oh man, the idea of hitting a deer. We see a deer on the side of the road and we're like, someone else says they hit a deer. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I hit a deer, or a deer hit me. 2 of them. One comes, he jumps over the car, he makes it. The second one definitely does not. So my back windows suffered, and I was screaming. I am bawling on the side of the road, and no one stopped. And I was so sad. And I was like, I'm going home. And so I was compelled to go back home. Somehow, I ended up in Akron on a bright and sunny day at a BP, and I was like, I think I'll move here. And that was the beginning of my perfect little situation. So there were a lot of different moments that I felt compelled. And there were a lot of different moments that sometimes I was always moving in the right direction, but sometimes it wasn't the move that I would have expected, the move that I would have thought. But every time, that aha moment compelled me a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further towards my goal, towards my ultimate version of happiness. Okay, so we got our origin story. What do we need next? Superpowers. All right, so everyone got one of these. This little zine. Gonna open it. So the first question is my superpower is. So I want you to write on there what your superpowers are while I talk about mine, okay? So there are a few different superpowers that I think get me through the day, but I think there's one that trumps them all. One of my superpowers is talking to strangers. I was saying yesterday when I'm talking to a middle school, I have to not say that because they're like, so we're not supposed to do that though, right? And then I have to backtrack out of that conversation. Another one of my superpowers, I think, is being able to be uncomfortable. For instance, living in a vehicle while traveling the country or living in an abandoned house. I got no problem being uncomfortable. I don't know why, I'm just built like that. It doesn't bother me. That also works in the whole talking to strangers thing. I have no problem walking up to a random person and being like, oh my gosh, I love that sweater. Where'd you get it from? I don't care if you think I'm weird, because I am weird, so it's fine. We're on the same page. But the number one thing that I think has changed the way I think, the way I act, the way I feel has been being able to move through fear. Not that I don't get scared. Not that I don't get scared, but being able to see the fear, acknowledge the fear, and move through the fear. So there are lots of things that I do that are atypical. I'm a 43-year-old person going to school with people that could be my child. That can get weird sometimes. I was talking to Polly, and I was like, it's very difficult for me to describe to people what exactly my art is. What exactly do you do? And that can be daunting sometimes because I feel like it's like a constant interview, a constant validation, and sometimes I get a little weird about it, But I have to feel those feelings, then I have to push through those feelings. And so the ability to see that fear and work through that fear has been just pivotal in me being able to achieve the things that I really want. Not the things my mom wants for me, not the things my best friend thinks I should have, the things that I really want, the things that make me joyful, the things that I enjoy, like an afternoon nap. I have to take an afternoon nap. I took a long after breakfast nap because I had to be here a little bit earlier, but I need to take a nap. People laugh at me all the time, like, oh, you're an adult, oh, she's got to take a nap. Okay, but being able to see the feelings, talk through the feelings, and move on is my number one superpower. Okay, so who has written down their superpower? Also, these lights are not that bright. I can see all of you, okay? And I'm just going to start calling on folks. Yellow sweatshirt. Yep. What's your superpower? What are you really good at? Patience, wonderful. Energy and excitement, that's key. I wish I had more of that sometimes. Collared shirt underneath the sweater. Yes.
Getting stuff done.
Okay, getting that to-do list checked off. Gotcha. Anybody else? Turtleneck sweater in the back. Organization. So we've got like a little power team over here. We got getting stuff done. We got organization. Leadership, wonderful. All right, so superpowers are one of the things that I talk about when I talk about community building, because we all have them. They're all unique. We need them all in order to work together as a team. The community is just one big team. Okay, so we got origin story, we got superpowers, then we need tools. So not all superheroes have tools. Thor's got the hammer, Wonder Woman's got the lasso of truth. Not all of them have Batman has like all the tools. So I found that I was like, okay, I'm going back to college. And the first year I went back full time, which was not a great idea. I was very tired all the time. But I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I need to really strategically think about it. Because I'm behind the 8 ball. That's how I was feeling. I was like, okay, so how can I get the most bang for my buck? My buck being more so my time. So one of the things that I committed to was asking every professor 10 questions, especially the professors that I didn't like. I had a drawing teacher. He walked in the door the first day of class and he says, I did not want to teach this class. And I was like, well, okay, this is a great way to start. And so the whole time, I'm just a little off put. And I'm like, he can't even draw anyway. And I'm going home and telling my mom about him and everything. But I committed to asking him 10 questions. Now, I haven't even gotten to my 10. But every time I think of something that I know that he is an expert in, he is an illustrator. He is therefore very much into the whole AI conversation and technology through art and all that kind of stuff. So anytime I have a question that is somehow related to those industries, I go to him and I talk to him. He has been an aspect of my overall work. He has participated. And so our relationship has become closer because of that commitment. And because of that, I think he also has a little bit begun to reframe how he thinks of the things that he says sometimes, and how he enters a room, and how for someone, this is the best day of their life. So get on board, Keep that same energy. So 10 questions. Next thing is community. Community, that's what me and my sister always say, community. Because, especially in liberal arts schools, community, doing good works is very much like a part of what we learn, even if it's not out of a book. It's a part of the sub-conversation. Also, very much like helping people, doing good works. It's very much a part of that. But also, how do we experience that? Because the thing about community is it's a give and a get situation. And so sometimes you gotta listen to conversations you don't wanna hear for the 13th time. Sometimes you have to volunteer for things you really don't wanna go to. Sometimes you have to give when you don't even really have. But the wonderful thing is, I gave a talk not too long ago, and I said the most beautiful thing about this time in my life is I have gotten to rest under the trees of seeds I have planted. So last year, my father got sick. My grandmother passed away in April. My dad got sick in August. It was trash. The whole year was just horrible. And so my dad was sick. I'm driving back and forth to make him food, and it was just very taxing. I am the type of person, so we're gonna skip ahead. One of the N ones is formulas, and one of my formulas is transparency. And so during this time, I sent out a message to all my people on my email list, and I said, hey, this is what's going on in my life, okay? So if I miss a meeting, if I'm not as present as I typically am, this is what's happening in my life. And the blessing was that people showed up. People showed up for me, and not just oh, we're praying for you, oh, we hope everything's okay. Not just the platitudes and the pleasantries. They showed up hey, do you need something to eat? Hey, can I give you a ride here? Hey, I will take down that art show for you because I know you don't have the capacity to do it currently. So they really showed up for me, and I was so used to giving in the sense of community. I was so used to being the one who volunteered. I was so used to being the one who showed up. I was so used to being the person that was giving community, I never thought of getting it back. And so in that moment, I was able to get the community back. And let me tell you, I was decimated. I was in tears because I was oh my gosh, this is so wonderful and beautiful, and I can't believe that this works. And so now whenever I am feeling unsure, whenever I have questions, I default to community. I default to how can I make other people be a part of this? Just talks like these. How can I let other people be a part of this so that it takes the weight off of me a little bit? I got this hack that I do. I got my Hope t-shirt on. Every college that I go to, I ask for a t-shirt. I'm hey, where's the bookstore so I can go buy a t-shirt? Because then I don't have to think about what to wear. We were talking about that yesterday. I am not the person. I don't have to think about what to wear. So I have shared that weight with the community that I am getting ready to walk into. And I feel comfortable and I feel myself. Okay? And so that is another one of the tools that I have come upon that have helped me to really live my best life. To find the friends that are my friends, that are friends to me like I'm friends to them. To find the people who support me wholeheartedly and fully before I even ask them, and to give to that which is giving to me. So that I'm not bitter, I'm not angry, I don't feel outside, I don't feel down put, because I have already identified this is my community, these are my people. So I can be my full self without having to worry, All right, so we've got origin story. We got superpowers. We got, what's the last one? Tools. All right, nice words. The second thing we have is nice words. So I found during some of my presentations, when I would ask people to think of a nice word. So one of the questions I say is, can you think of a nice word to describe your skin color? A nice word or an affirmation to describe your skin color. And a lot of times people have a very difficult time. We can say things about nice words about other people pretty easily. We can say, oh my gosh, she's so sweet, she's always helpful, I really appreciate her. It's easy for us to say nice things about other people, but it's so hard for us to say nice things about ourselves. And so what I did was I made this little booklet that has all different types of nice words on it. So I'm going to encourage you to use that one to fill out my skin color is. So we're going to think of a vibrant, beautiful word, whether it's on the list or not, to describe our skin color. So the nice words are something that I do for myself. I am very much a self-talker. I have conversations with myself all day. We have staff meetings, okay? So I need to say these nice words to myself. And that has definitely been one of my tools. To keep me bolstered, to keep me going through the day, I definitely say, like, you are doing such a good job. Like, this is great. I can't believe you. You are living a life. Like, even driving here, I'm like, yes, everything is great. Everything is wonderful. Okay, we're going to get here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I do that all day long, and it puts me at peace. Sometimes I need that. I need a cheerleader, but like also sometimes I'm alone. Especially like in the most pivotal times I'm alone. You know, when I'm in the shower, when I'm in the car, when I'm in the studio, I'm alone. So sometimes I need, not sometimes, all times, I need that extra bit of confidence. I need those kind words. I need it in my own voice as well. You know, the only voice second to mine is my mom's, but I need it in my voice as well, and to help keep me going. All right, so does anyone want to tell me one of their nice words that they found, or that they have in general? Any good words? For yourself, for your skin color, whichever you prefer. Vibrant. I love it. Radiant. Alpha, Greek letter, zeta. Nurtured. Tracody? Give me a good word. Genuine. Lovable. Authentic. Give me one more. Optimistic. Motivated. Wonderful. So being able to have the words, even sometimes when we don't believe them. Sometimes we're like, this is actually horrible. This whole day is horrible. This whole week is horrible. Actually, this is not great. Sometimes we need those nice words that have been written out for us, that have been pre-curated, in order to give us the words, because sometimes we just don't have them. Sometimes our mind is so full of all of the things we're supposed to be doing, the places we're supposed to be going, that we don't have it. We just don't have it. And so the nice words have really helped me on those days when I just don't have it, to be able to move through to the next thing. All right, so we have our origin story, we have our superpowers, we have our tools, last thing, formulas. So for me, formulas is like the how. You know, so I got the origin story, I got the why. I always wanted to get here. You know, I have the motivation, I got the superpowers to do it. You know, I have the chutzpah. But sometimes you have the thing, but like, how do I get over there? And so one of my hows has been transparency, like I said. Being completely and utterly myself all the time. So then that way I don't forget. I don't have to forget what I'm supposed to wear. I don't have to forget how I'm supposed to act. I don't have to forget what I'm supposed to be because I'm just being that thing all of the time. The other day, somebody calls me out for wearing a shirt 2 days in a row, which is like one of like the ultimate like embarrassments, because you know how you're like, okay, I'm gonna wear this thing because like I'm not gonna see anybody today that I saw yesterday, right? But that wasn't true. And so she didn't say anything that day, but like 2 days later I had said something. She's like, yeah, because like the other day you had on the same shirt twice in a row. I said, yeah, but it was clean. I'm like, okay, it went on the chair. You know the chair. You know, yeah, we know the chair. It went on the chair. So you have the closet with the clean clothes. You have the chair with the worn but not dirty clothes. And then you have the dirty clothes basket. So it never made it to the dirty clothes basket, so it was fine. But I wasn't embarrassed. This is me. I had on a shirt. Be happy. You know, this is me. I'm showing up as who I am every time. I don't have the energy because all of the energy that I have goes towards me doing what I actually want to do. And so that has been able to let me take just weight off of my mind. You know, it's been able to allow me to use that brain energy for something else, as opposed to worrying about what somebody thinks about me wearing a shirt 2 days in a row. Because obviously now you know. So I definitely don't have to hide. I might wear it 3 days in a row. Watch out. Like, now you know, it's fine. But it's interesting because that has definitely changed things for me. Can I get the screen up? Thanks. Okay, so another of the formulas of the hows is seeking laughter. So I say a lot of times, my goal for everything that I do is laughter, which is interesting for an artist. You don't think about that for an artist. But for an artist whose goal is to create community and to help people see themselves, I think that it's pivotal. Because if I can make you laugh, then we can have any conversation. If I can make you laugh, we've already broken down the barriers between us. We already have an inside joke. We have something that we share. There's a kinship between us, and then we can have conversations about whatever else comes up. But if I can make you laugh, that is the key to everything else and every other conversation. So that has been definitely another one of my hows, of my formulas to success. So while reading my bio, they talked a little bit about my current major work. My current major work is called skin color. Through this work, I sit with people and I match their specific skin tone with acrylic paint. During that time, we have a conversation, whether it's one person, whether it's 4 or 5 people, and it's all about building community and help people see themselves. So I started doing this kind of out of being compelled. I was cleaning up at a print class. I was after a print class, and I was cleaning up, putting the inks back in the closet, and there was a ink jar, like one of those food ones, and it was written on it, skin color. Does anyone know what color was in it? You don't have to whisper. Peach. It was peach. And so I felt some type of way. I wasn't sure what the type of way was, but I felt some type of way. And so I needed to digest. I needed to journal, I needed to talk, I needed to think, I needed to figure out okay, what are these feelings? Where are they coming from? What is the thing? And then I was like, well, I'm in art school, I might as well art about it also. And so my goal was, so I figured out the reason that I felt a type of way was because I didn't feel that same power. I didn't feel that same agency. Who said agency earlier? I didn't feel that same agency to be able to name a thing. If I would have seen a color that was like my skin color in a bottle, I probably would have called it, they're not in here today. But yesterday someone had like mocha latte or something. Yeah, so I probably would have said something like that, like mocha latte, amaretto, something, something, something. I wouldn't have had the chutzpah to say skin color. And so that was something that I needed to think about for myself. How could I find that same agency and that same power within myself to be able to name the thing? And so that was why I started matching people's skin color, because I wanted to sit down with them, I wanted to have a conversation and get closer, and I wanted to give them the power to name the thing, to see themselves in a very interesting and different way and name the thing. So starting out, I just did this. I would have my colors, I would sit down and I would do it. Sometimes well, and sometimes not, sometimes 5 minutes, and sometimes an hour. And I was like, okay, well, we gotta like pull this in if we're gonna keep doing this. And so what I did was I created a formula that I call the perfect brown. And this formula, it gives me the base color. So you know how you go to Sephora and they have like the colors that are like the bases and then they like go from there. So this color gave me the base color that I then used to make all of the skin colors from. So being able to get to this color in a like efficient way helped cut out a lot of that time. So that has been like my ultimate formula. So that formula is, does anyone remember from yesterday? We got red. Sierra, how many reds did we have? You remember? Nope. Close, 19. 19. The 15 was a yellow. So for our perfect brown, we have 19 grams of red, oh, we went over by 2. Then, as Sierra said, we have 15 grams of yellow. $14.4. Does anyone remember how many blues we had? 2.5. Okay. So we went just over on each one of them, so the goal is that we will even out. All right, so we have our colors. So this formula has saved me hours and hours of time. And the goal here is to create a silky, smooth, milk chocolate reminiscent color. We're almost there. Alrighty. Our red doesn't want to mix in good. So there we go. So we have like a nice milk chocolatey color. Can you pull the lights up? Thank you. Just so you guys can actually see it in real life. But so this is the color that I use from which to make all of my skin colors. So the goal is that it's, like one time I was in the studio and someone's like, "Are you painting with chocolate?" And I was like, I'm not, but that's wonderful. Like, I love that you, like, thought that. You know, it has that feeling, that, like, really creamy, lovely, beautiful color. And that is the color from which I use to make all of the different skin colors. So, we've thought about what our superpowers are. We've thought about nice words to keep us going. We've thought about our origin stories and our hows. And it's that simple. So in a matter of 2 years from the day I decided to go back to school, I have been able to become a speaker that goes around to colleges and to schools and to city halls and all over, let's not say all over the country, I don't want to overreach, throughout the Eastern Seaboard to talk about the work that I do, okay? I get to work with kids and elderly people and adults and help them enjoy their lives a little bit more. I get to get paid for it. I get to draw pretty pictures. I get to travel. I get to take naps every day. And I get to do that because I thought strategically and thoroughly about what I really wanted, who I really was, and how I could achieve that. And so as you are here in college, some of us as professors and some of us as students, I encourage you to do all of these things on the regular basis. Check in, because that first aha moment might not do it. It probably won't, actually. So check in and allow yourself to have multiple aha moments. Allow yourself to know who you are, to adjust who you are, to remember what your 12-year-old self loved. You know, what did you love at 12 years old? Was it dinosaurs? Was it Vikings? But allow yourself to remember what those things are. And as Green Lantern says, don't try to be like anyone else. The world needs your unique light. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for being a part of my talk.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Isabella Salazar, and I have the honor of being the co-president of Women of Color United here at Hope College. And first off, I wanted to thank you all for being here. If you have to go, we understand. Everybody has things to do. But thank you so much for being here and not only celebrating Women Histories Month, but also for listening to the talented Althea Jones. Yes, go ahead. So now we're going to move on to the Q&A portion. Behind me, we have a QR code that will show up shortly, and you are more than welcome, and please do, scan it and submit any questions that you might have for Althea Jones. If you prefer to write anything on paper, we have 2 volunteers here, Isabella and Sadie. Yep, they will be, they will go around if you need to write it on the note card instead. You can go ahead and raise your hand, and they will submit that for you. So yes, thank you for doing that, and we're going to get into some questions. Althea, sit down with you here. Thank you again for taking the time to be here with us. That was an amazing keynote that you gave us. I love all of your 4 points: the origin story, the community, the superpower, and what was the last? Formulas. I always forget that one too. Okay, yeah. But we just had I had a couple questions that I wanted to ask you. I had some written down but I do have one that, just based off of your talk that you gave, you really highlighted community. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people come here not necessarily having community or needing to find community. And, sometimes there can be struggles with that. So I'm wondering if you had any advice for somebody, maybe freshmen or anybody, even international students that I know that we're recording this that may be listening to it. So do you have any advice in finding that community that you can be authentic with yourself too?
So my thing has been looking for like souls. And that looks like there's this thought process that you can tell if someone is motivated by if they put the grocery cart back. There's no fine for not putting the grocery cart back. No one is watching you. Well, in theory, no one's watching you. But if you put the grocery cart back on your own, you have the ability to self-govern, is the concept. I'm a put the grocery cart back kind of person. I am a help the old lady across the street kind of person. And so what I strive to do now is find those same types of people and to pay attention before I even enter conversation, before I even offer myself to if they are the grocery cart kind of person, because that's the type of person I need in my life so that I'm pouring into them and they're pouring into me, and then we are even. So that's my personal. Now, you might not be the grocery cart put-backer type of person, so that might not work for you, but that is personally how I achieve it, or what I look for.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm a grocery type. Put it away. Please do if you haven't in a while. But yeah, that's awesome. I know my freshman year I had a hard time, I guess, feeling connected, and for me, the community that I was able to find was Women of Color United. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. For our next question, your work, particularly Skin Color, invites deep conversations about identity and self-love. How has your own journey of self-reflection? I know you talked about journaling and speaking these positive, nice words to ourselves. So how has your experience with that and your identity shaped the way that you approach the project and the conversations that it sparks?
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned about self is that sometimes I'm the villain. And I think that's a really hard conversation to have. I had a conversation with my sister, not putting our business out there, but I have a conversation with my sister, and she said something that was just very transparent, and I had to own it. And I was like, wow, you're right, I did that. And I can completely understand why you would feel that way. I don't know how to make you unfeel that way, but I will try. I will keep that in mind, and so that sometimes I have to realize that I have disappointed people just like I am disappointed, that sometimes I am the villain of the story, rightly or wrongly. There's also situations where I am the villain and I'm like, I don't even know how you got there. But that's that person's perspective. And so it is easy to go through a self-reflection where you're always the good guy. It's easy to journal when you're always feeling like you're right and you're always the victim or you're always the one that did the right thing. The hard part of self-reflection and growth is when you have to be very honest about the fact that you might have been wrong. That you might have done the wrong thing, you might have said the wrong thing intentionally or unintentionally, but that it may have been your fault. That to me has been the biggest point of growth. And however you do your self-reflection, whether it's journaling, whether it's poetry, whether it's art, however you do your self-reflection, what you're looking for in the reflection, I think is super important.
Yeah, it's true. It can be a very narrow perspective that we have of ourselves in the way that even if our intentions were not to hurt somebody, but we did, even if it was on accident. So that's always a good reminder, even to step into their perspective. And yeah, that helps a lot. So thank you. I also love this idea of the superhero mode that you describe in designing your life that you envision for yourself. Can you share any other, I know you shared some aha moments, but any other specific moments where you had to push through that doubt and challenge to embrace this life that you've envisioned for yourself? And what advice do you have for anybody facing similar struggles?
Every 3 days. Every 3 days, I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. It doesn't even matter to anybody. The world is burning. What am I going to do about it? Every 3 days. Every 3 or 4 days, definitely every 90 days, I go down a whole spiral, and I think that this is all a waste of time, and I don't even know if I can draw that good, and, all of these different things. It's a constant struggle. It is a constant, almost every single day struggle. I say aloud when I'm having a good day, like I say it out loud to myself, this is a great day, I have a great life, and that helps me, but yeah. I'm an artist in a world that believes in starving artists, in a world where it is acceptable and expected that you will never make money doing the thing that you want to do. So every single day is a struggle, and every single day is like a testing of my wills, but also I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it, and I would pick absolutely nothing else. So if I gotta re-up every day and have that staff meeting with myself in the car while I'm driving to a meeting, then that's just what I gotta do. That's just what I gotta do. But yeah, not expecting it. I told someone the other day, they were like, I'm just like, why is life so hard and all that? I was like, deers get hit on the side of the road all the time. When was the last time you ran over a squirrel? Like, nobody is sitting and, well, some people are crying for them, but the average person is not is not stopping and crying for the squirrel that got ran over in the parking lot. Yeah. Like, sometimes someone not giving you the grant that you felt like you deserved or the grade that you felt like you deserved, sometimes that's like our version of getting hit by a car. Yeah. And it just happens, and we just got to deal with it. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also, I love the nice words list that you guys I know that I'll be keeping that for myself, and how you emphasize to speaking that aloud. Mm-hmm. It can be really easy to just write it down or to say it in my head, but to really just sit in front of the mirror almost and just say, I am jubilant, I am lively, I am playful. That really, not everybody's going to go around tooting my own horn. So, you know, when I need a uplift, that's a really awesome thing that we're able to do for ourselves. So thank you for that and sharing those. I hope you guys save those, because I will be doing that for sure. Next, I was just wondering about your background in justice studies. I'm sure it strongly influences your art and the way that you engage with communities. How do you see the relationship between activism evolving, and what roles do you think that artists should play in fostering social change?
I mean, I think artists are naturally a mirror to society, because artists are influenced and inspired by everything that is going on all the time. So I think that's a natural thing. I think that it depends on the artist, on what their goal is, because some people are studio artists and they are there for self-reflection. Some people are trying to have a communication with the world. Some people are actively using their art for things. So it depends on what that artist's goal is. And I think sometimes we also need to give them space to be able to live the practice that they want to live. Sometimes we try to force artists to be in a space of activism or in a space of social justice when maybe that's not their lane. You know, maybe that's not their superpower, and maybe that's not their focus, and that is okay. But I think that art innately and in and of itself is a reflection of our culture at any given time, and that looking at what is being created says so much about ourselves, whether it's writing, you know, whether it's visual, whether it's music, all of that, those types of things, and how valuable that is. Because even like in the today, when we go 25, 35, 50 years from now, people will look at the art to see what was happening at this time, because AI, who knows what the videos are going to be? Who knows? At this point, you can manipulate anything to think what you want to think. So there will need to be so many cross-references in order to come up with some semblance of truth in those times, and probably 4 or 5 of those cross-referencing points will be art. So I think I think it's almost not a conversation because it's so much of the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. We analyze and study art even in school and education now. So to keep creating, it's very natural for so many people just to create and to be artistic. So yeah. So now we're going to get into some of the audience's questions. And so this first one that I see here, it says, how do you work on knowing your true self so that you can be transparent in a way that feels good?
I have learned to understand and name my emotions. So when I was younger, I've always been a very emotional person. When I was younger, I used to just think that I was like, you know, the crazy scatterbrain girl on the Saturday afternoon show that's always crying and just like all over the place. So we like kind of framed that person as like the crazy. So that's who I thought I was. But the reality was I was not emotionally intelligent. I just didn't know what my emotions were and where they were coming from. So in the today, I focus on understanding how I'm feeling and knowing where it's coming from. I can't stop the feelings. I'm going to feel the feelings, okay? I'm going to go down the spiral. I'm going to have the thing. But where is that coming from? Is it coming from doing something that's out of my practice? Like, is it coming from doing something that's foreign to me, that is not for me or not of me? Have I taken on someone else's viewpoint of me that's not appropriate? Have I tried to seek someone else's goals that aren't my goals? Because that can make me very angsty. It can give me anxiety and it can make me feel a type of way. It can cause me to be crying in the grocery store if I'm not aware. But in this season of my life, being able to say, I am overwhelmed because of this. I am frustrated because of this. I have anxiety because of this. And vice versa. Like, I'm excited because of this. I love this. I'm joyful because of this. Has been able to give me so much more perspective and understanding that I am a human that has emotions and that is living this life. And I do not have to have it all together. I do not have to be perfect. I do not have to meet any of these different requirements in order to exist and not having to hide. And I don't have to hide it. If I'm having a bad day, I don't have a problem telling you I'm having a bad day. That's fine. You might have to have this bad day with me. I don't know. But I'm not going to put myself, when I was younger, I put myself into this box where I have to be the helper, the one in charge. You know, I have to be this specific person all the time. And that was a prison, a self-influenced prison, informed by my family dynamics, informed by my community and my culture and where I was within those things. In the today of it, I'm able to be completely and utterly honest and really in tune with my emotions and understand that they're telling me something. If I am anxious, it's for a reason. I'm not just anxious out of nowhere. There's something that is telling me something. It's a cue. It's my body giving me a cue. And so I need to figure out what that cue is coming from. And then I don't feel crazy. So it's nice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's so wise. I feel like it's like a growing experience that you grow in continually. Like, you're never going to graduate from knowing yourself and where are these emotions coming from. But it's such a good, once you really get to that mindset where I need to acknowledge it, I need to accept it, and I need to work through it. I need to figure out where it's coming from. It's such an important thing to do as humans. Otherwise, like what you said, it's like a prison. It really limits you in big ways. So thank you for that. Next, somebody asked, what process helps you get from aha to formulas, or the how?
Doing it over and over and over again. So I was talking to Javon and Polly over lunch, and I was saying that this year I did not go for any grants. Last year I was grant funded. This year I did not go for any grants because I wanted the space to be able to understand what I had been doing. I had been going for 2 years nonstop, like nonstop meetings, shows, community events, just nonstop. I didn't have time to rest. And so I needed to rest. And same thing. I think I went on my Instagram at altheajonesart.com. No, but it is though. I went on my Instagram and I said, hey, I'm not doing no new work. Just FYI. We're gonna be doing the same thing. If you don't wanna see the same thing over and over for the next year, just don't come on here. And I'm okay with that. But doing it over and over, I get to figure out what doesn't work. I get to figure out what does work. So that is how I go from like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. I do the thing, I don't wait, which I used to be a perfectionist, so that's a big deal for me. So I don't wait, I do the thing, and then I figure out as I go what worked and what didn't work. And I do the thing again. What worked, what didn't work. I do the thing again. I just keep doing it over and over again. And then eventually, just like with the paint, eventually I got to the point where I was like, oh, okay, an hour and a half to do this is just not gonna work. So how do I figure this out? It took me like weeks to figure out that formula because I had to do it gram by gram, do different paints, react different ways. What is the most important aspect of this? I had to keep doing it over and over again to figure out, okay, this really works. And it still doesn't even work all of the time, depending on what the lighting is. One time I got the wrong red. It was in the same tube, it had the same label and everything, but it was a different red. Threw the whole thing off. I was so embarrassed. But I knew it wasn't me. No, I'm just playing. But doing it over and over again, I'm able to like really be aware and work out the kinks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's for all of us. This is a perfect example of it too. To keep doing the same thing over and over again until you reach it, because it can be really easy to just give up. Oh my gosh, it didn't work. That didn't work. This didn't work. That didn't work, and just give up. Whatever, I'm going to leave it. But to keep. And
then in the era of social media, we feel compelled to always show a new thing. We feel compelled to buy new clothes. We feel compelled to. If you're a makeup artist, to try new makeup things. If you're a nail artist, you feel compelled to have to do these things. And so it's hard to do a hard stop and literally say, no, I'm not doing that. And sometimes that helps too, because otherwise you'll get manipulated into doing it. If you don't say, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, boundaries.
Boundaries, yep.
For yourself. Yeah, okay. Somebody else asked, what's one piece of advice you have for young girls? What advice do you have for your younger self?
Get to know yourself. That would be it. Who are you? Like I said, I sincerely believe our 12-year-old selves say just so much about what is really at the heart of us, like the things that we love just for the sake of loving them. And so that's what I would say. That's what I say to my niece. That's what I say to the people that I meet. Just get to know who you are, because you can't stand up for who you are if you don't know that person.
To be able to represent yourself the way that you are, yeah. Okay, so next we have your presentation made me think of Christian traditions of discernment that incorporate a sense of calling and spiritual direction. Has there been a religious or spiritual part of your life, of your aha moment and journey?
So I was raised Baptist, so I spent and my mom was like on the treasury board, and so we spent like Wednesdays, Bible study, like Thursdays, choir rehearsals, Saturdays, kids day, and Sunday all day at church. So a lot. And so I would say I am more, and in all the things that I'm very much more latent, more back brain. I'm not a big force a person into a thing or force a person to have a certain type of conversation. And I think that's kind of how I deal with spirituality and religion and the tenets that I was raised in. I think the seeking of truth at all times is what is most important to me, which is, a tenet of the Bible. And I think that because I'm seeking my own truth, that's how I have those aha moments. That's why I have those aha moments where I feel compelled, because I'm always seeking truth, especially my own. And so in that, I am, whether it's forebrain or back brain, always on the verge of like, okay, what does this mean? How does this reference? What is the significance of these different things? And I told my mom the other day, I said, you raised us to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Not because someone's looking at you, not because someone else said to do it. And that is how I try to move forward. I don't use anyone's moral compass but my own. My moral compass is the one that I go by, because also, unfortunately, religion can be manipulated to be a tool of marketing to take people in ways that they did not mean to go. And so I think we have to be still very in tune with who we are and what we truly believe, and if the things that are being told to us and the things that we are doing are truly in line with that, and re-upping very often as is necessary. Who am I? What do I truly believe? Is this thing in line with that? And so in that way, yes, not in a very like I heard God talk kind of way, but in a very informed type of way. Like these things in my history and my life have informed how I operate in the things that I do.
I'm wondering too, I guess, to piggyback off of that, when you're, I guess, how do I want to say this? Looking for getting to know yourself over and over again and to really know yourself. How do you still navigate that with, I feel like our preferences and different things, like we're just evolving and we're just changing so much in the way that we think. So how have you navigated that? I guess years ago you could have been thinking to yourself, I want to be this person, right? But how does that change, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's just back to what is my why. Okay. So like, yeah, I've been through lots of different seasons. I had a formal wear shop where I rented women's formal wear. I was a landlord. I owned a bar, a convenience store. Like, I've done a lot of things, but the reality was I was avoiding my why. So all of these things, they weren't intrinsically wrong. They were just wrong for me, And so while I might have been successful at them, and I might have wanted to do that at that time, it didn't have staying power because it just wasn't for me, And so I think the same thing, just really coming back to what is my why, what is my why, what is my why? If I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling unsure, then that's telling me something, And it might be I'm feeling anxious because someone else said they didn't like it or whatever. That could be the thing. That could actually be where the anxiety is coming from, and then it's making me feel unsure, and I don't need to know. But I need to still have that conversation, even if the end of it is, yes, this is for me, and this is my thing, and I don't receive what you are trying to put on me, even if that's the whole conversation, or if the conversation is, I'm anxious because, like, I don't really want to do this. I don't really like this. I don't feel comfortable here, like those different things. Whatever the conversation is, just getting to the root of what the conversation that's just what I always try to come back to. And a lot of those conversations are out loud. Like literally actually talking to myself. Like, but why do I think that? Why am I feeling that way? Like actually literally talking to myself. It helps me actually like hash out the situation and understand what's going on.
Yeah, exactly what you said. Everything goes back to that root, finding the root of things. So,
yeah.
Thank you. Somebody else here asked, what advice would you give to a student who wants to seek a career that their parents don't approve of?
Are they paying your tuition? I would say do the research, have the presentation together, figure out how much agency you do have, So actually, I went to school on an academic scholarship. I had no concept that I could have literally said, no, I'm going to school for this because I earned this scholarship. That never crossed my mind because my mom said no, and that was the end of the whole story. So I respect my mother. I respect her thought process and her suggestions, even if they aren't right for me. Even just a couple weeks ago, I said, okay, Mommy, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. And then we continued having our own conversation. I would say if you want to do something that your parents don't approve of, you're going to have to, number one, build a case, do the research. What is the thing that you want to do? How much does it make? What are the tools you need to do it? Who are some people that are doing it? What access do you have to these tools? Build the presentation. If it's really what you want to do, then you won't have a problem sitting down and doing that. And then number two, come to them as adults, sit down and have a conversation and be able to articulate those things. If nothing else, they would definitely respect the work that you have gone through to do that. And then it's how much agency do you actually have? Are they paying all of your bills? If they are paying all of your bills and you want to do something that they don't want you to do, are you prepared to pay those bills? So are you prepared to do whatever the thing is? What would you need to do to be prepared? You know, and these are also the steps of how committed are you to this thing? Because also, while you're going through this, you're going to have to decide, okay, is this really what I want to do? Always being respectful, always being appreciative. And then sometimes you do come to the point where you say, no, this is what I want to do. I live a crazy life. I've lived in an abandoned house. I've lived in a car. I am very much liable to get up tomorrow and drive to Colorado. I live a crazy life. My parents do not appreciate it or agree. But when I decided I was going to live in my car and drive through New England, my dad came over and I took him through the whole thing. Okay, this is where I sleep. This is where my food is. This is where I keep my keys in the middle of the night. This is how I get from the back to the front if something happens. This is my blackout curtain. These are the places where I can sleep overnight. I had a whole plan. Not just for him, for me, actually, because, like, I'm adventurous, but I'm not stupid. You know, like, I also don't want to die. So, like, but he even said to me, he said to someone else in my presence, but he said, I thought it was crazy, but when I went over and I saw all the work she had done and how she had figured this whole thing out, I couldn't deny it. I couldn't say anything, you know, and so he prayed and I left. You know, and so I think that sometimes we don't want to do the work. We just want somebody to co-sign, and that's an easy out. But like if it's really the thing and you're really committed to it, do the work. Do all the work that is necessary. I do a lot of work, a lot of research about everything that I'm doing to make sure, because I want to be the best. I want to be the best that I can be. So I do a lot of work and a lot of research on things that might seem simple, that might seem easy or crazy, but I do a lot of research.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think too, what I'm hearing is the work, but also communication with the people.
Communication and how you communicate with people. Yeah, you can't go into a conversation with anybody saying they're wrong.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful. I think we're going to go to our last question here. Got a little bit of time. Let's see. I'm going to ask, how do you match your passion with a realistic career? Is what somebody asked.
Figuring out what ways are going to give me the most bang for my buck. So I do classes, I sell paintings, I do speaking engagements, and I have patrons to my art. So patrons are like donors. And so those are the ways that I make money. And so what I had to do was I sat down and said, okay, what is the highest return on investment? What is the thing that I do that makes the most money? And that's actually speaking engagements. And so because it's speaking engagements, I figured out, okay, what is my process to getting speaking engagements? And I went on YouTube, like we do for everything, and figured out, okay, what's my process gonna be? How am I gonna go and do this thing? And so that way I'm able to still sell art, still have donors. I went and got postcards to send to all of my donors, and still do art with the kids at the church, or go help my friend do art with the kids at the church, or do art with the kids at the library. I'm able to do all the things that I want to do, but also have a thing that I devote my business energies, my business brain to, that is able to sustain me in order to be able to do all of these things until they gain their own legs, until it starts to balance out. Yeah. And I mean, some of it just won't. I'm never gonna get paid great to do art with kids. You know, that's just reality. And so I need to have a balance to be able to do that, because I really enjoy that, and that's really important to me.
Yes, that is really fun. Thank you so much for sharing just your stories that you've shared with us, and even the process of how this plays out in real time, and how you work everything out. So thank you so much. Before we wrap up, we are going to give a huge thank you to Althea Jones for sharing her gifts, passion, knowledge. Yes, thank you for being with us today. If there's one thing that we can take away, I would say that we all have the power. We all have the power to be agents of change, advocating for equity and inclusion in our communities. So again, thank you so much for being here. Before we go, I want to do a little bit of shameless plug for Woku. We have some events coming up. We have our biggest event of the year coming up. It is our annual art exhibition at the Kreisinga Art Museum on March 25th. So this event is open to all Hope community, and you can email us with any questions you may have at wcu@hopecollege.edu, or you can text us through our Instagram page, again, with any questions or information that you may be are looking for. Also, if you haven't stopped by the library yet, Woku has a display on the second floor of the library. Please check it out. Our Nazia, one of our e-board members, really put a lot of time and effort into it, so please go check that out. Yeah, it's really awesome on she went through all the archives, so yeah, it's a really awesome display. Next, Women of Color United and the Black Student Union are partnering with Culture and Inclusive Excellence Division to celebrate the National Day of Racial Healing. This year, Hope College will feature T-Rex, a documentary about Clarissa T-Rex, shielding from Flint, who made history at 17 as the first woman to win Olympic gold in boxing. Join us on Wednesday, March 26th at 6:30 p.m. at the Knickerbocker Theater, and you can check behind me for any more details you may be looking for. Also, a special thank you to everybody who made this event possible. So Women of Color United, our e-board, everything that they put into this, the Culture and Inclusive Excellence Division and Center of Diversity and Inclusion. We truly appreciate all of your support. And before you go, make sure to mark your calendars, because our next diversity lecture will be Asian Heritage Month lecture on Tuesday, April 8th at 3:30, right here in the Jack Miller Concert Hall. And again, you can check behind me for some more details. Again, thank you all so much for being here and celebrating Women's History. I hope you have a great evening.